Good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, Spencer, I'm not going to lie. I'm still getting adjusted to this early recording session. This is our first live episode on YouTube. Of course, I am your host, James West, with my co-host, Mr. Fantasy Football himself, Spencer Roland Nolan. Yo, how's it going at 10:10 in the morning?
Man, it's going great over here. I do feel a little bad for you being over there on the West Coast. I know that's a little early for you, but I feel like you probably would have been up already,
Yeah,
right?
my daughter's been crying since 7 a.m.
Oh, no.
It's been raining, so of course I couldn't get on the golf course because I'm stuck in the house. So this was a perfect time for a perfect day. Like I said, hey, this is Wild Wild West Sports, and hey, we got our first special guest. We're going to introduce him in a second. But first, before we start, as always, hey, if you want any questions answered by us during this live podcast, hey, put them in the comment section. Me and Spencer, mainly it might be me, but I'll let Spencer know if someone's asking him a question or even our special guest. But right now, hey, Spencer, man, before we get started, hey, all I'm going to say is, hey, man, when I'm tired like this, man, what's usually the thing people need when they're tired, man, in the morning? What do people need early in the morning, man?
Oh, man. I'm a big believer that like 90% of our society functions off of coffee beans, baby.
Well, you definitely the right answer because this show, hey, it's brought to you by First Cup, coffee, in Pearland, Texas. I'm gonna say I don't know all the locations, but right now, our first sponsor of the show, y'all check it out. Hey, if you're not even a coffee drinker like myself, I don't drink off of coffee. I run off adrenaline. There's some tea options. There's some juice options. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I watched some of the Instagram videos. Man, they're making margarita drinks, it looks like. But they're all hopefully non-alcoholic. But I'm going to have to visit when I come home soon. So,
Yeah,
as always,
First Cup's a great spot, man.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all got to get out there and get you your first cup of coffee.
Get you a first
James,
cup of coffee.
I know you said you're not a coffee guy, but the good thing about First Cup is they make their own beans. I think we're going to have to get you some beans because if you don't like coffee, you might like First Cup, though.
Oh, man, I might have to try. Like I said, I'll be coming home soon. As always, thank you to Spencer for coming out here. Thank you for our special guest that we're about to introduce again. And also thank you to Athletically Declined and all the crew out there, giving us the merch. As you can see what Spencer's wearing. Hey, get your merch at athleticallydeclined.com. Hey, man, Spencer, I know today is the Kentucky Derby, but today is our special guest episode. Now, look, all y'all been wondering, who's the special guest? You looking at the hashtags, college baseball, UT, for the boys, even though that's not even what it means. But, we're just going to let you know right now, this guy that we have, a dear friend of ours. I used to live in the same neighborhood as this guy for the longest. I will get into how Spencer knows this guy in the longest. This guy used to strike me out in Little League Baseball. It's probably the reason why I quitted Little League Baseball after machine pitch. Now, look, all I'm going to say is right now, this guy currently holds the strikeout record in a single game with 18 at Dawson High School. He went to the University of Texas for 4 years, relief pitcher. Second all-time in appearances at 116. Let's introduce our first special guest, 2012-2016, Travis Duke. Let's go, left-handed pitcher. Travis, how are you, man?
I'm too blessed to be stressed, James.
You're not lying. You're not lying, Travis. As me and Spencer are going to tell you plenty of times, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us your time. Man, anything you want to say before we get started?
I appreciate y'all for having us. Friends help friends, and I've been tuning into the podcast since y'all first started. Love what y'all are doing. Love what you're bringing. Happy to be a part of it.
Ooh, man, don't be buttering me up this early, man. Usually that's my wife's job. You're doing a damn good job.
Gonna make me cry, man.
Yeah. Hey, Travis, man, let's just hop into it. I just found out, man, you a married man. How's the married life going?
Married life, great, man. I mean, when you marry your best friend, I mean, it's easy. I mean, every day is you got your partner in crime with you. You go through life's toughest battles together. Both serving the Lord together. I mean, it's All you could ever ask for.
Hey, man. Hey, now, hey, I'm gonna cut Spencer off real quick, but I'm not gonna lie, Travis. Hey, now I was heartbroken when y'all weren't able to make it to our wedding, me and Katrina's wedding. I was heartbroken about that. Then I was really heartbroken when I found out I didn't get no invite. Yo, I had to put in my undercover spy Chance to help me out because hey, I had to know because hey, there's some friends of ours who didn't invite me, and there were some other people I thought shouldn't have been invited. I'm a little salty still these days, but a Chance helped me out and said it was a very small gathering wedding. So I said, okay, I'm okay with that. If you'd had like 200 people and I didn't make the list, I would have been sad.
Oh, that's crazy, James. I was there.
Y'all could have known. Y'all know me for a long time. I could have had 500 people there.
Sorry, I had to just.
I'm about to kick out Spencer. I'm about to kick out.
Give a little flex on you right there.
But hey, Travis, hey, it's all good. Like I said, because I understand. Hey, sometimes, hey, man, you can't feed a whole village at times. You just gotta be just a close family.
Feed a whole village with alcohol, more like alcohol bills 2-3x the food, man. Jeez.
Hey, man. Dude, I totally get it. Hey, so now we're going to enter into these things. Travis, hey, I'll ask the first question. What started your baseball career? Was it just you wanting to play baseball? Your parents forcing you to play baseball? Because, it could have went either way. I met you in Little League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a family of baseball players, the men in my family. So my dad's father, my grandfather, he played independent league ball. So he didn't ever get to the professional ranks. It was more of a hobby along with his daily career, but he played baseball for a long, long time, passed it on to my dad. And with how thick baseball runs in my family, my dad instinctively, when I turned 4, put me in T-ball. And I'm not going to lie to you. The first year in T-ball, I was the kid sitting crisscross in right field, picking dandelions, like no interest in the game at all. And then at some point in time when I was 4, my dad loves to tell this story. I came home and I just asked him, like, why I never play. He says, well, you never work. You never practice. So every day when my dad got home from work, he would go out, take me out in the backyard in his dress clothes from work, and I'd play catch with him and got better and moved to first base in T-ball, which we know first base in T-ball is like the MVP spot. You put your kid that can catch the ball the best at first base. And from there, I caught the fire. So it was really just sheer dumb luck on my parents' side, my granddad's side, and on my side that the first sport they threw me in, I fell in love with. And from there on, like, I loved playing all sports. I loved just being active in general. But there was a special kind of passion for baseball.
Yo, I understand. Like I said, I started off at machine pitch. I thought I liked it. I was picking daisies in right field, left field on always Haywood Jeffries Little League teams. So I always batted 8th or 9th, depending on where they wanted to put my brother. So you knew we were bad.
I remember.
We were bad. But yeah, like I said, once we got to like regular pitch, after that I was done. I was done. I quit. I didn't like it. I didn't like you throwing the heat. I don't know if you remember this guy. Hopefully you do. If not, it's fine. But there used to be a kid in the Little League. He was like a big, chubby kid, but he was a pitcher. He was on I think he might have been on the Little League All-Star teams with you. I don't remember his name, but he used to scare me on the mound because, I'm like only like 30 pounds with a little bat sticking up, shaking. And then this dude's like, 6'5", big boy, and he's just throwing balls at my face.
I bet it was Seaver Myers, wasn't it?
There you go. Look at that. See?
Big Seaver.
Big A's. Yep. That's the name. Definitely.
Went on to play. A fun fact about Seaver: he went on to play O-line for 4 years at SMU.
There you go. Hey, man. There you go, man. Some talent in Pearland, Texas. You. Now, Spencer. Now, did you play Little League baseball growing up, or?
Well, I did, but I didn't play with Travis. I honestly, with baseball is interesting. I have an interesting relationship with that sport. I've always loved watching it, but like once we got to machine pitch when I was a little kid, I didn't like it as much anymore. I was way more into like football and basketball at that point. Once the ball started getting a lot harder to hit, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of out on this.
Yeah, that was me too. So of course, Travis, I already know you were always on the Little League All-Star team. Now, of course, now with the Little League's always, it's about to come up this August on ESPN. Were your teams ever in the running to make the Little League College World Series or College World Series, Little League World Series?
Yes. So I'll paint it to you this way. I can't name any names because I still hold a little bit of saltiness myself in this aspect.
Ooh,
So
ooh,
if you
like
watch
Spencer.
Little League sports now, the best teams that get to the Little League World Series, they've got one, maybe two pitchers that are throwing 68 to 70 miles an hour plus. And then they have the MLB equivalent on the radar guns during those broadcasts. 68 to 70 is like 96, 98 if it were a Major League Baseball player. So that's the equivalent of what they're seeing. Pearland Little League, the time that I was an all-star when we were 12, including myself, we had 5 guys that were throwing that velocity.
Wow.
But what Pearland Little League did at the time, in order to allow more players to make the all-star team, they split Pearland Little League into 2 teams, 2 all-star teams.
Mm.
So you basically cut your talent in half. And it was always the winner, that the Pearland All-Star team that won our district always ended up going and winning state. And
Mhm.
then we won district, state, or regionals, state, and then you'd go on to the Little League World Series after that. No Pearland team when I was there made it past regionals, but again, when you cut your talent in half, I
Mhm.
mean, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot there. But Pearland Little League, stemming back to whenever I was playing there, has a long-standing history of competing at the highest level at the Little League level. Which
Wow.
you can say what you want about Little League versus select ball. I could go off on a long, long tangent for that. But what you're seeing more often than not now, Little League had to implement a rule that you couldn't go play select ball and then come back for your 12-year-old year and play Little League just to go to the Little League World Series. You had to have played Little League a year before that to be eligible. So
Man.
Little League is trying to crack the whip a little bit and making sure everybody is on an even playing field and under the premise of everybody gets a shot, which, I mean, I'm not a participation trophy guy. You earn it, you get it.
We
You,
love that. That's what we stand for here at Wild
Yeah,
Wild
we
West
there for
Sports.
that.
We don't do that participation trophy
Yeah.
BS. Get that out of here. You got to win or you lose.
Yeah, you gotta learn how to lose and suck it up, man. Learn how to
Yep.
get better. Learn how to grind. Hey, I like it. Now, Travis, like you said, now I didn't even know y'all split. I was gonna ask that question about the high school level in a bit, but man, I didn't know that was like that in Little League. So then, okay, so after Little League, so hit it to me straight. So before high school, what is baseball career like between Little League and high school? Because I know, of course, at junior high East, we play the regular sports, but what is it like?
yeah, I was bummed that that junior highs don't have a baseball team, because that was kind of where I had my time to shine. I was a good football player. I was just big and I could hit hard. I wasn't
Yeah,
athletic at all. So I was always representing East on the football team, which were a bunch of dogs whenever we were there.
bunch of dogs.
Uh,
Hey, man,
yeah,
y'all were so big on the A team, man. I could never be on the A team. I was always on the B team.
I got
At
I got
East.
tired. I got tired of being planted in the grass by Kennedy Estelle. And I think that was what drove my love for playing football away. Getting thrown into the grass too much. But in baseball, between Little League at 12 years old and high school at 14, it was kind of a discover yourself, because nowadays because you move to a bigger field as you get older. You
Mhm.
play at the same size field from the time that you're, at least in Little League, it's the time until you're 12. Nowadays it's different. In select ball, they have like 8 to 10-year-olds on one field, 10 to 12-year-olds on a second field,
Oh
then
wow.
12 and 13s on another field, and then 14 you move up to the big field. But I moved from the Little League field, which is 48-foot base path, or 48-foot mound to home plate, 60-foot base paths, to the big boy field, 60-90, which is a huge adjustment. You're going from hitting the ball out of the Little League parks to trying to hit it out of the infield on the big parks, which as a pitcher I felt like I needed a cutoff man to get it to home plate. I mean, moving from 48 feet to 60 feet, it is a substantial difference. My best
Mhm.
pitch in those years was what I call the gravity ball. It was just moving so slow that gravity caused it to move and pull down. Yeah, that was my best pitch. But essentially, in Pearland we formed our own select team, which consisted. We called ourselves the Pearland Drillers, which consisted of our Little League All Star team, and we would go and play like the Big League Dreams complex in League
Okay.
City. We'd
Mhm.
go play at they call it Marucci Elite facility now, but it's old Baseball USA off of Westheimer. We'd go play tournaments in Brenham. We'd kind of go really around South Central Texas and play select ball tournaments. But I mean, it very much still was I guess you could call it daddy ball team, because it was still our dads coaching us. We didn't have hired professionals. Now, we were lucky enough to have a couple players on the team with fathers that played minor league ball or even major league ball. Like Tyler Basso's father actually was a scout for the Toronto Blue Jays at the time and played some professional ball of his own. So we had plenty of experience and plenty of expertise around us. So that was nice. But then moving right before high school, my 13-year-old year, I think it was 8th grade, was my first experience at what real select ball is. It's a big financial investment from the parents. You play for an organization that essentially you have to try out for. You don't just get to say, I want to be a member of this team. You say, I want to be a member of this team. And then they say, okay, well, how good are you? And you have to throw a bullpen. You have to hit in the cage. You have to like fly balls, ground balls, whatever your forte is, whatever position you play, you have to essentially try out. And I made the team, and I'm glad I did, because growing up in Little League, I was always one of the best. And I had worked hard to get there. On the select ball team that were the drillers with the other all-star guys, I was one of the best, but I had worked to get there. Went to the select ball team. I was the second worst pitcher on the team, the slowest kid on the team, and one of the worst hitters. And so my dad did that purposefully for a never get complacent. He always used to tell me complacency is the enemy of progress. You'll never get better if you're complacent, if you're satisfied with where you're at. So I played on that team, had to work my tail off to get better and become one of the best pitchers. And then I hit high school. And so that's where that gap between Little League and high school hit. It was a lot of finding out who I am and a big gut check, to say the least. And while you're going through puberty at the same time, it's hormones are flying. It's tough, because mentally, like, you want to be the best, but you think you should be the best, but you also have to continue to humble yourself. And trying to humble a 13-year-old going through puberty is very difficult.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I was very difficult, as a teenager for my father. There are days, I wish I was like working out under Haywood, because you know how Haywood and Patrick Coleman and all of them were. They were working out every other day. So it was, I would have loved to have that. But then at times I look back on it and I'm like, man, I'm glad I did, But it's for some people, it's not for some people, But entering into high school then, so as I'm looking at it, you were varsity freshman year. Man, I guess Dawson was a newer school, wasn't too many, but I'm not saying you weren't, but
Dawson was very new. We didn't have a senior class my first year. We were that new, so that played a part. But I also Pearland that year became open enrollment, and at the time it wasn't Scalise as the head coach; it was Pardo before he moved on to become the athletic director.
Oh, Pardo. Oh, never mind. I don't want to say nothing about Pardo, because the only thing I can think about, if you remember, is his daughter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my God, this is going off the rails already.
Keep it going. Keep it going, Travis.
There was some. It wasn't directly from Pardo, but of course, I was one of the only players on our Little League All-Star team to go to Dawson. I think 90% of that entire team went to Pearland, and there was some recruitment, let's just say, of, I know you live in the neighborhood right behind Dawson, why don't you come over and play at Pearland? And there was a promise of varsity as a freshman, even at a school with a long storied, true school for baseball like Pearland. There was that promise. So I did. Spencer, it might break your heart to hear, I did have the opportunity to go to Pearland, but I couldn't leave my friends at Dawson, one, and then two, I mean, when you live a football field distance behind a high school, it's hard to say I'm not going to go to that high school.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, Travis. Hey, I know, I don't remember where you lived in Southdown, but I do know that you were I was close too, but you were a lot closer than I.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't disagree with not going to Dawson. There have been times I've thought, should I, because my parents got divorced back in 2007, and it was either, do I go to Dawson and live with my dad, or do I go to Pearland and live with my mom? And some days I feel like I made that made that mistake and not went to Dawson and been with, Haywood, Patrick, James, you, some other guys that were athletically,
Sure.
they knew me. So now you get to high school. Now I'm looking at the stats. Now you got like 316 strikeouts. Like, Lord almighty, that is a ton of strike. Now when you're striking out high schoolers, is it like 2 pitches you have in your wheelhouse? 3 pitches?
At the time, it was really technically had 3. It was really 2. I had so whenever scouts grade you, they call it like like if you have a plus fastball, that means you throw above average, but plus is like you're throwing 96 to 100. Like plus is the best. My fastball was plus in the sense that I threw harder than most kids my age. I was throwing 82 to 85 at 14, 15 years old, which you don't see very often. Plus from the left side with a funky delivery like I had, and the fact that everything I threw had run or had movement to it, that also helped. But really it was just 2. I had a fastball, a curve, and a changeup. My changeup was still in its infancy phase at that point. It was primarily fastball, curveball, but like I said, I took a lot of inspiration from guys like Andy Pettit and Tom Glavine and Jamie Moyer, Barry Zito, crafty lefties, to where I could throw any pitch at any time and be able to hit any spot I wanted to. So 2 pitches really.
Man, I really enjoyed Barry Zito when he was like a Giant. I really, and then of course Andy Pettit when he was with the Astros. Man, those years, yeah. I know Spencer remembers Andy Pettit.
Absolutely, he was one of my favorites. Absolutely, the dominant lefty. Him and Roger Clemens and Roy Oswalt. Those early 2000s Astros rotations was awesome, man.
Yeah, I actually modeled my pickoff move after Andy Pettit. Like I would sit and watch before YouTube. I would just go to whatever baseball game was on and find Astros game with Andy Pettit pitching, and I would just study his pickoff move every time he threw it and try to emulate it myself. So I mean, truly inspirations for me in trying to increase my game.
Now, Travis, I'm not gonna lie, I got some comments in the comment section. It seems like one of our viewers grew up with Andy Pettit's son, so I guess, and may not have played with him. So hey, we might have to somehow get one of those sons on the show, maybe. And man, what a great start this is going so far for us. Now, Spencer, you have any questions for Travis before we enter into his college career?
I have a big one, but I'm saving it for the end because it's one I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about it for a little bit. I want to hear a former pitcher's perspective on a very, very controversial subject, and I think Travis knows where I'm going with this.
I think I know where you're going with it.
But
I already know. I was hoping you would ask that too. So
100%.
I'm glad you're saving it for the end because I could probably talk an hour about this.
Yes, but let's get through the rest of the profile with our Travis. This is going great so far.
Yeah, so of course I'm assuming any real like achievements at Dawson, what were we talking, like was there any state? Because I don't see any state on here. Like how far did y'all get into the playoffs at 4A, right?
Yeah, 4A. So we would definitely, since we were so new, still going through our lumps. In my 4 years at Dawson, we made the postseason playoffs period 1 year. And in that year, we played Angleton High School. And at the time, you could do the head coaches would meet and flip a coin. And whoever won the coin flip could decide if it was going to be a 3-game series or a sudden death 1 game. Oh. And my head coach at Dawson won the coin toss. And he made the decision to make it a 1-game sudden death and called me right afterwards and said, "It's on you." I was like, no pressure.
No pressure at all, man. Talking about going all in on the poker table. Now, okay, I hear you. Okay, so then Travis, now getting into selecting Texas. Now, growing up, was Texas always like, let's say, like childhood team, no matter what happens, this or that? Was Texas okay? I like this. So then, what made you choose Texas, and who were the other schools trying to get a lefty like you in their bullpen?
Okay, so I was a Texas Tech fan all growing up. I was my dad's alma mater. I grew up going to Texas Tech games, throwing tortillas on the field. But at the time, Texas Tech had a very subpar baseball team that has since changed. Now they're one of the best in the country year in, year out. But my dad straightforward told me, because I did have some worry that my dad was going to push me to Texas Tech. He told me, I want you to go where you feel is the best fit for you. Put all biases aside. This is your decision. It's your life. I don't want you to feel any pressure from me one way or the other. So the offers that I had, really every Big 12 school that's in the state of Texas. So I'll just start off in the state of Texas. It was U of H, Baylor, TCU, UT, Texas Tech, Rice was a big one at the time.
Yeah, right.
And then LSU, Florida State, Stanford, and Pepperdine, of all places.
Okay, Pepperdine. Man, I was waiting for you to say like Cal State, Fulton. You know, I always used to see them in the College World Series like every year.
Yeah. So it was the top three actually came down. I haven't told many people this. The top three came down to Texas, TCU, and Stanford. And then TCU being a private school, scholarships work differently. I don't know if you know that in college baseball, there rarely is such a thing as a full ride. There is 11.7, not 12, 11.7 full scholarships that get dispersed amongst 35 guys on a roster. So a lot of the time, a great scholarship for baseball is like 60-70%. Like my scholarship was full books, tuition, and fees. So we're really, all I had to pay for were my living expenses. If you're a blue chip prospect, maybe you get a full ride if they really want you to bypass the draft. But traditionally it's a full books, tuition, and fees. And then maybe they give you a stipend, like $1,000 per month to go towards your living and your food, along with everything else they provide. It's pretty tough. But I didn't choose TCU because it was just so unbelievably expensive. And then Stanford, I personally really, really wanted to go to Stanford for the school, but I'm going to sound super petty, and you'll laugh when you hear this. The ultimate deciding factor, of course, the color burnt orange is, and I'm biased here, iconic. Their uniforms were just absolute drip. I mean, Nike school, Nike elite.
Nike, yeah.
At the time, Stanford's baseball team was Mizuno sponsored, and that just really didn't sit well for me. And ultimately, it worked because it was out of state, and I could tell my dad, like, "Oh, out of state tuition, like, no, like I want to stay in the state. It's 3 hours away from home. It's far enough away to where I have my independence, but close enough to where if I'm real homesick, I could come down to Pearland and see the family and see friends and all that." And and then plus everything was solidified whenever I went on my first visit. I mean, I have it set as my background right now. UFCU Disch-Falk Field. I mean, one of the most iconic college baseball parks in the country. I went and toured the facilities. They took me to a Texas football game, and I sat next to Miles Turner on my recruiting visit.
Okay.
And I was sold. sold.
Hey, I would be sold too, definitely. Now the Stanford one is definitely a shocker. I mean, that's interesting. You know, hearing like, you know, what were the selections and how you chose it. Hey, man, it happens. Hey, people go to Oregon because they want to wear 68 different uniforms. It's no biggie, Travis. Hey, you would like the burnt orange. I get it. I'm the same way. Like of course, like with my mom, she hates the color orange, but I love the color orange. Not on Auburn, but I like the color orange on Miami, and it just is what it is. Yeah. But Travis, now getting into Texas, now Spencer, I'll tell you this story. Now, this has nothing to do with Travis's college career. But there was a time where Travis and our friend Big Chance Romans, they both had birthdays near each other, of course. They both turned 21. Travis brought up the idea, hey man, come to Austin, let's go to 6th Street, man. I'm like, okay, cool. Kid you not, Spencer, you see Travis on the screen. This is probably the last time I've seen Travis since. Travis ain't hit me up since then because I acted like I was turning 21. I was already 21. And this man, Travis and Chance, Lord behold, I ain't going to get into details. They saved my life that night in the restroom at that one bar. Travis guaranteed us free drinks. He definitely guaranteed because I didn't pay a lick. The only thing I'm most upset about the night, Spencer, now look, I know Travis, you know, and he had his Austin friends. They threw me in the back of a car. I felt like I was like in the back of OJ's Bronco. And I was telling them, hey, man, hey, I think I know I'm gonna throw up. And man, they didn't listen to me. And I don't think I've ever puked inside a car until that night. And like I said, this is the last
That
time.
doesn't sound like it's your fault. That to me, that's on them.
Thank
That's on
you.
them. You tried to warn them.
Thank you.
You tried to warn them.
I was like, Chance, tell them I'm gonna throw up. Oh man, basically, hey, look, you see, that's the last time I've seen Travis at a party with Travis because he was like, I'm not taking on this guy again. Now, I will say, Spencer, though, the funnest thing about that night was the pregame where Travis, now I don't remember which Clemens' son, he brings us to this like Roger Clemens' son's like penthouse, I don't know, condo, whatever. Yo, kid you not, I swear to God, everything on there, like furniture, had everything signed by his dad. It was so weird. I was like looking at the couch, like, who signed that? It was like, my dad. I was like, I mean, I know it's Roger Clemens, but I don't know. I wouldn't have my dad's signature on every furniture piece, but it was a fun night. Travis, I do thank you for that. I will say now, being a father, I will not do that ever again. I won't ever do. Hey, you ever get me on a drink? It's 2 beers tops, and that's it.
10-4. That was a blast of a night. I know it didn't end the way that we thought, but you also had, because I'm not sure if that night was before or after, but we also had I can't remember the bar's name, St. Dane's night or a Taco Tuesday night where you actually, James, were driving us home and I had to open your car door well, first of all, I had to lean my head out the window and throw up, and I threw up all on the side of your car. Then you're like, well, we need to go to a drive-through because I need to wash this off. And then I opened the door inside the car wash to throw up, but I luckily closed the door before the Jets had made their way back around to that side. But yeah, there was some there was a trade-off for sure.
Okay. I'll take it fair. I'll take a fair game. Hey.
It's a truth. White flag, truth.
Yeah, dude, I do remember you. Unfortunately, I do remember that night. You did eat a lot of chocolate cake. It was free at that bar. And yeah, I remember what you said. So getting back to it, like, because I don't want to get off the rail. Getting back to it now in college now. So you step in as a freshman. You know, what are your first, like, I guess, like, impressions? You're like, I'm gonna be throwing, I'm gonna be starting ASAP, or what is that like? Being a freshman, being varsity 4 years at a high school, entering basically Texas. You know, most people say the premier college of the state. You know, so how did that go for you walking in as a freshman?
Well, it was humbling, to say the least. I told the story earlier about moving from the daddy ball team to my first select team and going from one of the best to one of the worst instantly, because it was a pattern created before I even got to school. And my only hesitation with even going to Texas was the thought that, I might not ever play, because there's so many talented ball players around me. Because you go from being the guy wherever you're from to joining a team where everybody was the guy from wherever they're from. So my first kind of punch in the gut, humbling moment was that I wasn't going to be a starter. I was a starter my whole life. My role as a freshman, I was going to be coming out of the bullpen, and it was kind of an earn your stripes kind of deal. But even then, I was like the third or fourth lefty on the depth chart, or third lefty on the depth chart. I still wasn't even the first guy that, first sign of danger that they need a lefty, they call down and it's me. I was third. And with that kind of time, I could do one of two ways. I could just feel sorry for myself and just say, like, whenever I get my shot, like, whatever, or I could work my tail off. And then whenever I got that opportunity, make the most of it. And that opportunity came the second game of the season when the first lefty that came out of the bullpen just did not have it that day. I was absolutely terrible. And the second lefty was actually coming back from a pulled muscle in his back, so he was on the IR. So I got a shot, and I threw 18 pitches, and 16 of them were strikes. And then from there, my head coach had identified me as a consistent strike thrower, and the phone started ringing game in and game out for a lefty, and they just kept calling on 2-7.
Man, hey, that sounds really exciting. And I'm looking at what you've given us as like a cheat sheet. Now, I'm not a baseball guy. Like, I get the gist of all that. So explain to me, like, the ERA, because this is what I struggle with. Let's say this is your first start. let's say you allow like 5 runs, right, in your first start. All of a sudden, like the next game, I'll look at the stat line and it'll say like Travis Duke 0-1, but it'll say like 12.000 ER, and I'm like, hold up, I saw 5. What the like? That's the only thing I don't understand about baseball is why isn't it like just an average? Like, okay, you threw 5 this game, 1 this game. Oh, your ERA is 3, not 7.999 after a good.
Yeah.
So explain to me that part because I don't understand the ERA.
So different stats are more relative to different types of pitchers. Like the win-loss record is tough to pin on relievers because majority of the time as a reliever, I could come in and, you know, the offense just happened to explode the one inning that I happened to be still in the game. And
Correct.
I get credit for that win when the starter through 6 innings didn't get much run support and then gets a no decision. So relief pitchers, I don't really judge on win-loss. For all pitchers across the board, ERA is earned run average, and it really spends on how many innings you pitch versus how many earned runs you've given up in that span. So they quantify runs in 2 ways. There's just runs or R and earned runs ER. And if your defense makes errors that cause runs to score, that doesn't count against your ERA because you didn't technically give up those runs. They were due to errors. So if you break down an ERA, the more innings you've thrown, the more runs that you're allowed to give up and have a decent ERA because I mean, it's just higher math. But to your point, and your first start, that's why I did this motion. Your first start, if you throw 5 or 6 innings and you give up 6 runs in that time period, your ERA is going to start really high. And then every outing after that, unless you're not very good, your ERA should hypothetically keep declining. That's why most pitchers, whether they're bullpen guys or starters, want to start off the year extremely strong because if you have your first 4 or 5 starts where you give up 2 or less runs, your ERA is coming out of the gate going to be extremely, extremely good.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson. I needed that because, like, I've just said, I'm always confused about that. Now, hey, before we get a little further into life at Austin, we got a question from one of our viewers. From a mental standpoint, Travis, what is the transition like going from a starter to having the pressure of leverage situation pitching at that level? From a mental standpoint.
From a mental standpoint, it really has to go with finding your zone. And what I mean by that is every pitcher will find their zone or get into a rhythm. And as a starter, you have more time to do that because you're starting each inning with a clean slate, nobody on, nobody out. As a reliever, from the time you get called into the game, very rarely are you getting called in with nothing at stake or in a mop-up role where your team's down 9-0 and really you're just going out and pitching. You're getting called with runners on base. You're getting called in at a tied or 1-run game where you need to come in and get outs. The mental standpoint is you have to lock in and find that now versus being able to kind of transition or coast into it. You have to be ready at the snap of a fingers or a flip of a switch versus work your way into a start. You'll hear most announcers or most commentators during the course of a game talk about a starter and when on average he settles in or he finds his rhythm. As a reliever, you don't have that luxury. You're thrown into the fire immediately. So all of that mental prep work happens in the bullpen. That's where you're reviewing scouting reports. That's where after you review those scouting reports, you're working that into how you warm up based on who you might get called in to face. And if your coaches are worth a damn, then you'll know who you're going to likely face over the course of that game or that weekend series based on matchups. So I would know who were the talented lefties in their lineup that they had that I was going to be coming in to face. So I had to be ready and know the game plan going in and immediately versus working my way into it.
Man, now, hey, that was interesting. Now, of course, you said, reading like the scouting report and all that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you said that because, like, you know how it is at MLB. They'll be having the camera on the relief pitch, and they're all just sitting on their ass chewing sunflower seeds and gum, and I'm like, damn, they just be chilling. Like, what's going on here? Thank you for that, Travis. And then, of course, hey, I got a back-to-back question from our athletically declined team. Were spin rates looked at as closely as they are today while you were at Texas?
Towards the tail end, yes. So that really has to do with more of who your who your coach is and what their
Mm-hmm.
philosophy is. At the time in Texas, I was coached by my head coach was Augie Garrido. So
Mm-hmm.
he's actually, when Cal State Fullerton was at the height of their college baseball prowess, he was their head coach.
Okay.
And then he since moved on, and he was my head coach at Texas. My pitching coach was an old school mind as well, to where, and I'm quoting them here, they focused on three things. They focused on your head, your heart, and your balls. They focused on your head and the mental side of baseball. They focused on your heart and how much that you want it and your desire to go and chase after it, and your balls, and that you can throw 80, you can throw 90, you can throw 100, you could be 6'5", 250, or 5'8", 140.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to back down from anybody. I'm the best player on this field, and I challenge you to show me otherwise.
Yeah.
So when I say that, that's how their coaching philosophy was, not so much the sabermetrics or analytics that we have in the game today.
Yeah. So Travis, I want to ask you something. You brought up Augie Garrido, who, rest in soul. He has passed away in the last few years, but he's one of the most iconic college baseball managers in the game, and you played under him. I was wondering, do you have like a good Augie Garrido story that you could share with us?
Several. Uh, One of them. So Augie was he was a Confucius style coach. He wasn't so focused on the fundamentals. He trusted his assistant coaches to do that. He focused on the mental side of the game, and so because of that, our post game speeches were often rather lengthy. Post game, post practice. There's one practice where I think it was April. It was hot and humid in Austin, Texas, and we're all exhausted. We're meeting on the hot turf in the sun for post game speech, and Augie's going on one of his patented long, drawn out post practice speeches. But there is one, I kid you not, had to be the size of a dime, horsefly swarming around all the players, and it was just going through and landing on had a thing for faces. Would never land on a clothes part of you, it would land on your face. And like 4 or 5 players did it, but Augie had a pet peeve where you could not break your focus from him when he was giving a speech. So we're all like trying to subtly bat a fly away, and then it turned its attention to the man himself. And for, I kid you not, a solid 5 minutes, which at that time seemed like an eternity, was buzzing, landing on his face, walking a little bit, fly away, come back, land, walk around. And all of us are just kind of like looking at each other out of the corner of our eyes, like, does he feel this? Does he feel this? And finally, he bats it away, and he looks at us because he knows what we're all thinking. He looks at us and goes, I guess that fly thinks I'm a real piece of shit, huh? And we all lost it. The man was so authentically funny without trying to be. And then also, I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube of his patented, just scream sessions. When he
Mhm.
wanted to lay into you, he could. There was one game where we were absolutely getting laid into, and another big thing he had was phones in the locker room needed to be put on silent or vibrate. If he heard a phone ring when he was talking, he'd absolutely lose it. Whether we just won 10-0, he was in the best mood possible, he'd lose it. He's talking, phone starts ringing,
Oh no.
and everybody's eyes just go, uh-oh, he's about to lose it. And we're like, oh God, like, whose phone is this? Who's about to get kicked off the team? Like, that's who's going to get kicked off the team. And then he goes, all right, whose phone is it? And then we all looked around, and he turns around and he goes to a locker. His
Oh.
the locker room, it hits a locker and it shatters. And he goes, now it won't ring anymore. And then he goes right back into his speech. And
Oh,
we're just sitting there
dang.
like, what just happened? What just happened? The guy was absolutely insane in the best way, because he could pull you in, grab your attention. He could coach the mental game like nobody that I've ever dealt with, and he cared. He got
Mhm.
angry because he actually cared, not from how much money he made, not from his success, but seeing all of us have success. That's why so many players before his passing would stay in touch with him, and I still have his cell phone number in my phone to this day, and had numerous conversations with him post my
Okay.
time at Texas before he passed away.
Gotcha. Wow, man.
Awesome.
What a story. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I couldn't imagine man. I'm just glad it wasn't your phone. So getting to the last two questions at Texas. Now answer me this. Tell me what was your best game at Texas, or your best experience game? It could have been against an opponent or whatnot. And then secondly, of course, college, of course, in college football, there's always a road atmosphere. What is the road atmosphere like at some iconic baseball stadiums? I don't know. Like the only videos I ever see is from, I don't know if you played at A&M, but like when A&M, I guess when you throw 4 consecutive balls, but so you answer me those two right there.
So the first one, in regards to my favorite outing, I'm going to cheat here and say 3, but it was all all within a 3-day stint. It was when we were in the College World Series in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I never played them in front of a crowd that big. At Texas, our stadium holds about 10,000, 11,000 of standing room only. TD Ameritrade in Omaha holds 26,000. It's every bit a major league sized ballpark. And in that game, in the games that I pitched in, were elimination games. If we lost, we were done. And I transitioned from a relief pitcher to a closer for those 3 games because our closer was sick with the flu. So I had to, and fun fact about the TD Ameritrade Stadium in Omaha, stadium is so big that yes, the teams that are playing, their fans travel well, but it's about 90% just locals from Nebraska.
Oh yeah, from Omaha.
And
going.
The University of Nebraska in Lincoln is 20 minutes away. And if you'll remember, like Nebraska was in the Big 12 for a long time, heated rivalry with Texas. They rooted against us every single day. So it was a road game, essentially, of 26,000 people with our Texas section of maybe 500 or 600. So I'm competing in in elimination games in Omaha on the biggest stage in college baseball, a road game where 90% of 26,000 people are cheering against me. And that's where I struck out Dansby Swanson.
Woo! All right, man.
Yes, sir.
Swanson. Woo! Yeah, you heard it on this podcast.
That Vanderbilt team that beat us, they ended up beating us the next game to go on to the championship series. But that was a Vanderbilt team led by Dansby Swanson, Walker Buehler, Carson Fulmer. I mean, they were absolutely loaded that year.
It seems like Vanderbilt's constantly loaded at that, not in football, always baseball, it seems like. Now, Travis, you did say the Omaha Stadium. I don't know, maybe I've been to both. I've been to the old one and I've been to the new one, and I want to say, damn, I might have missed you in 2014 because I'm trying to think. I feel like that was the first year that stadium was built, because I remember I was at the game.
I want to say the third. The third was the third year.
Okay.
Because 2011 was the first. 2012 was the first year the College World Series was at TD Ameritrade and moved from Rosenblatt. But it was the first year because when they built TD Ameritrade a couple years later, they actually tore down Rosenblatt. So I didn't get to see Rosenblatt, the old stadium, when I went in 2014 because they had just torn it down. It was heartbreaking. They put up a little memorial of where it stood and where home plate was. But a stadium with that much history in the game of baseball, I was really sad to not get to actually see it.
So I went to the old one a long time because my dad's side of the family, they live like 45 minutes from Omaha. So it was always like a thing to do while we were there visiting. And I went, the last time I went, I want to say it was the last year at the old stadium. It was UCLA versus South Carolina. It was, I hope this is right. I think it was Garrett Cole versus Jackie Bradley Jr. Yep. And now, of course, like I said, I'm a young kid. Hey, I was a young kid at that time. And you were talking about puberty, this and that. This is my first time going to a South Carolina Gamecocks game. And, we're all immature at this time. And I'm hearing a crowd of you say 26,000. It might have been 13 saying, "Go Cox, go Cox." And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? How is this allowed? But, man, I do remember that series going to, I think it was game 1. And then I'm trying to remember the year I went to the final where Coastal Carolina won it.
That was 2016, I want to say.
Okay. I was there for that, and it was magical run for Coastal Carolina. And, man, yeah, so the state, and Spencer, I'm going to assume Oh yeah, you said it on the podcast in an episode ago. Man, you haven't been, I'm assuming, to the Omaha Stadium.
I'm not. I need to go. I need to go see me some college baseball, man.
Yo, Omaha's lovely, man. Definitely during it can get hot at times, but not as hot as Texas. You know how that is.
Oh yeah, heat is never going to be something that's going to sway me from going somewhere. I'm
Right?
I'm born in this heat, man.
Oh man. And then Travis, I guess. Oh, my fault. I guess that was your answer to the craziest road atmosphere.
Actually, no.
Okay.
I hate that I have to give credit where credit is due, but we played in College Station, and that's against that stupid university an hour and a half south of us. That stadium, now that when they renovated it, and they're renovating it again, they're making it even bigger. How
Really?
you can fit
Wow.
that many farmers into one stadium, I will never know, but it is extremely tough because there's a difference between a team fans rooting for their team passionately,
Right.
and then fans rooting against another team passionately. But then A&M takes it up a level, and they unbelievable job at researching. I mean, before they do the ball, fun fact about Texas A&M, when you first come into a game, when they start chirping you or jeering at you and starting chants with your name, they don't use your name. They use your mother's first name.
Oh God.
They go on, and I think Texas has stopped doing it now, but there used to be a time where if you went to the Texas sports website, you could pull up a player bio and it'd have all of their stats from everything they've done at Texas. But for the sake of fans wanting to get to know their team better,
this
they have
big.
a little blip this big of went to Pearland High School. His father is Bill Duke and mother Lori Duke, and they would know your mother's first name.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
They would start with that chant, and if that didn't work, then they would start with their father's name, and if that didn't work, then they were just always on you. They could be down 10-0, and they were still on you. I mean, it was absolutely ruthless. And I mean, it started from one of my pregame jobs was hitting fly balls with my fungo bat to the outfielders during pregame warmups. Fans were roasting me and jeering me during pregame warmups. Every time I didn't hit a great fly ball and I'd roll it over and hit a ground ball, I'd have 10, 15-year-old kids behind me chirping me. And I'm like, where am I right now? This is an anomaly of baseball. But no, they do an unbelievable job at chirping everybody.
Now, Spencer, you know how he admitted the whole Texas A&M Aggie stuff. Now, I don't think, Spencer, you were hanging out with us this night. Travis came to my house. There was a little get-together house party.
Oh,
playing beer pong in the garage, and we had the garage door shut. We didn't want no disturbance. We didn't want the cops called on us. And of course, our loving big friend, Big Chance, Texas A&M alum.
Oh, I was here this night.
You were there that night. Were them two?
I know where this is going.
Chance was always on my team, and Travis was. I forget who his partner was, but them two get real heat. You know me, we're just having fun. We don't get rings for winning BP, but them two got into it, and I swear these two came up to each other like Kong and Godzilla. And the only thing I'll ever remember is Travis body bumping Chance into my garage. And he's saying, "I've had enough of your Aggie bullshit."
Yes.
I said, "Oh man!" I said, "It's just beer pong, but I get it, man."
I'm competitive. I am competitive to a fault. Since apologized to Chance numerous times for that, but Chance, as we all know, love him to death. He is the king of too far. I definitely was the one to take it. Definitely was the one to take it too far that night. But I did want to jump in for a second. I saw somebody in the chat say that I bet they played against Logan Taylor. Logan Taylor is actually one of my good friends.
Look at that.
Known Logan since college ball, and then we actually spent a summer playing ball against each other in the Cape Cod, or with each other in the Cape Cod League. That's where I know him, and we spent a lot of time together.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, Logan Taylor. Hey, as you said, you played against him, Texas A&M. He will be on the Athletically Declined podcast as a special guest. So hey, man, I love how we're having this with you. They're gonna have that with that. Man, it's great. Now, of course, getting into life after Texas. Now, Now, Travis, man, tell us the process for baseball players, I guess, to enter the draft, and then I guess when it comes to, like you said, you played in the Cape Cod League. I don't know if that was single A, triple A. So you tell us how that went and like what happened after that.
Sure. So the draft process is you're automatically eligible at the age of 18 right out of
Okay.
high school. Depending on where you go out of high school, if you go junior college, which you're only allowed 2 years of eligibility in junior
Correct.
college, unless you redshirt. But if you go junior college, you're eligible every year after that. If you go anywhere that's NCAA sanctioned, whether it's NAIA all the way to D1 ball, you have to spend 3 years or after your 21st birthday you're eligible for the draft. So I chose to go to Texas, so I was not eligible for the draft until after my junior year.
Okay.
And then I also was, and then by default, you're also eligible for the draft after your senior year, or if you redshirt, COVID year, whatever. After that third year, you're eligible for the draft every year after that point. As far as where I mentioned the Cape Cod League, so there are leagues, summer leagues that happen in between every college baseball season where college baseball players from across the country go play. I think there's one in Texas. There's one, the Cal Ripken League, that's like in the Maryland area of the country. There's one in the Cape Cod League. There's one in the Minnesota, Wisconsin, like Midwest. They call it the Northwoods League. And there's one in Alaska, of all places. And then there's one in Southern California.
Okay.
So you could really go play with one of those teams and you're still in college, but it's essentially a way for college players to get additional reps or to get more experience. And coaches love to send their lower classmen, their freshmen and sophomores after their freshman or sophomore year to these summer leagues, because for somebody like Logan, it's an opportunity to just get more at bats, see more live pitching, get more reps, get more experience under his belt. For me, it was the same, just flipped on the offense, on the pitching side, get more reps. They actually sent me to Green Bay after my freshman year and then Cape Cod after my sophomore year, and both times with the intention of trying to work my way into becoming a starter. Other than a reliever, both times unsuccessful. I had kind of trained myself and had gotten to a point where I was comfortable coming out of the bullpen, even in a late game scenario. So that's what I did. But then as far as life after baseball goes, after my junior year, I decided my junior year was better for me to not admit that I was hurt and play through tendonitis in my shoulder. And scouts saw that, and my velo dropped, and it dropped my draft stock drastically because nobody, if you're hurt and trying to gut through it, but it's hindering performance, they don't like to see that. It's not baseball like it was 30 years ago. They want you to be
Right.
open. Like, as far as medical technology has come, they want you to be open and honest with any uncomfortabilities that you have so they can help heal you. And you always you're always 100% when you go out to the mound, or at least 90. So I didn't get drafted after my junior year. And my senior year, I just didn't pay enough attention to the unwritten rules of draft stock. And I was not going to ever get drafted high. I was a lefty throwing high 80s, maybe touching a low 9 every once in a blue moon.
Okay.
So I was going to be a low round pick from the get go. But in order to give myself a safety net, I signed a job offer before my senior year, before my senior season started, just as if I'd go undrafted or my baseball career ends, at least I have this to fall back on. And again,
Correct.
scouts don't like to see that because it's not viewed as you're all in. So I went undrafted after my senior year as well. But as soon as the draft ended, I got 3 or 4 phone calls from 4 different teams asking me to sign free agent deals to go play minor league ball and start anywhere from rookie ball to high A ball, depending on what the team was. The best offer I had actually came from the San Francisco Giants to go play their high A ball team. And that they put me at that point on a 3 to 5 year plan to make it to the major leagues. And I just had to get really real with myself and say, I'm not a blue chip prospect. It's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of luck, honestly, a lot of right place, right time for me to make it to the majors. And I'm 22 years old with a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas and a great job offer, making good money for a 22-year-old right out of college. I think I have to get real for myself. And luckily I
Right.
had been coaching during I'd been coming back to Pearland every winter break, every summer break that I was not playing ball, and giving pitching and hitting lessons out at the Pearland Little League Dads Club. And I had found a love for coaching similar to what I had for actually playing the game. And
Gotcha.
so that heavily eased my transition out of playing. Now, granted, it was still extremely tough. It was a good 5-6 months of adjustment. I don't want to go too far into the weeds and say depression. I don't want to put myself in that category, but it was hard.
Right.
You identify as one thing for so long. You pour blood, sweat, and tears into one thing for so long, and then it's gone. Um, it's a huge adjustment. But like I said, coaching was kind of my way to still be around the game. I still lived in Austin at the time, could still go visit all my friends on the team. And then I also picked up playing slow pitch softball at the time. So I still was able to have that competitive outlet. And then every once in a while I'd come back to Pearland and play in a rec basketball game with my boys and bang bodies down low.
Yeah, if not anyone knows, Travis Loki, man, is a great damn power forward on a pick and roll. I'll give him credit. I love having Travis and Chance on my team. Two twin. I call them Duncan and Robinson. I don't care. You can pick whoever because I love having the pick and roll with those two, and they get boards then. So Travis, hey man, dude, I appreciate that story definitely because like you said, it's a passion growing up. You want to play big leagues, and then like you said. You're 22 years old with a bachelor's degree out of Texas. I get it, man. I understand. I thought the same way, man, when I was 18 and I was trying out for JUCO basketball, and I was like, damn, I'm not 6'3", man. I think I should give it up, man. I was like, man, I was done after a few JUCO basketball tryouts. I was like, you know what, man, I just gotta look to be a big boy. And look, man, I'm a stay-at-home father. I make no money anyway, so hey, it's all equal, it seems like for me. But Travis, no, I really appreciate that story. Now, of course, I'll get into it a little bit. Now, I got some people want to know maybe who you might have played with, who you might have faced against. Of course, it looks like I'm looking at right now your alumni game people. You got Brandon Bell, you got Drew Stubbs, Hudson Street, and then of course Roger Clemens, his sons. I'm really interested. I looked at this one you sent me. Aroldis Chapman, you threw in the bullpen in your senior year in high school, not college, high school. Tell me how that was.
So, fun fact: my sophomore year of high school, the word I went through 3/4 of high school years right there. But my sophomore year of high school, I was playing with a select team that was based out of Baseball USA at the time, off Westheimer, the Houston Heat. And my select coach was 14 years in the big leagues. His name is David Evans, hard throwing righty, still a young guy, really well built. But he was just well known in the Houston area as one of the best pitching coaches he was focusing on spin rate and sabermetrics well before they became what they are to this day. He had a camera and a full touchscreen in one batting cage in this complex. And he was going through fundamental mechanics and sabermetrics and spin rate before it was a thing. Long story short, I was in there just getting a workout in, throwing a bullpen, and when I finished, this gargantuan human being walked in, and he walked in a cotton T-shirt that was a couple sizes too small, and some and one basketball shorts that were 2 sizes too big.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
I remember more than anything, his build. I mean, his spine may have been maybe 2 feet long because he was just all limbs. When he stands straight up, his fingertips are almost touching the sides of his knees. He's that lengthy. He's that lengthy. But I remember asking, who is this guy? I've never seen him around here before. And my pitching coach elbowed me, and he said, "You know who that is, right?" I said, "Who?" He said, Aroldis Chapman. He just signed with the Reds, and I'm getting him ready to go to spring training. He's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball in 2 or 3 years. And I watched him pitch, and this is the early part of his career. All of the velo was there with none of the control, and they had this poor 20-year-old kid was playing D2 ball, trying to catch Aroldis Chapman when he had no idea where the ball was going. It was 105, and where is it going? Question mark. That's scary. That is scary. And watch him throw a bullpen. There are just some players out there that their fastball sounds different when it hits the catcher's mitt, or the ball sounds differently cracking off their bat. Like, You look at somebody like Altuve when he hits a home run.
Mm.
It sounds a little bit different when Yordan hits a home run. There's just a different power level there. That's what Aroldis was. But yeah, so that was I got to formally meet him. I shook his hand. His fingers almost wrapped around my hand twice. But extremely nice guy. Despite the bad blood I have from Astros Yankees rivalry. But really nice guy, and it was just so cool to see like that level of velocity.
Look at you, Spencer.
Got my Jose Altuve bobblehead. But we're going to talk about Chapman. We gotta give Jose Altuve some shine.
Oh, right, yeah. I know.
And I can also say something too. I like now that I have the forum to say it. I don't care if, how, or when you happen to know what's coming. I challenge anybody that know what's coming and hitting a Aroldis Chapman slider 420 feet. I dare you.
Yeah,
I dare you.
That's good. That's a good segue because that leads me into my question was so. We've established your pedigree, Travis. You're a very decorated college pitcher. You know what it's like to be on the mound in going up against batters. So, and James knows we've talked about this several times. We could do an entire episode on this, and I almost kind of want to. But I want to know from your perspective, a pitcher's perspective, what are like some of your nuanced thoughts on the Astros cheating scandal with the trash can banging, the electric camera relaying signs to the dugout, and then the dugout banging the trash cans. My question to you, I want to start by asking this: don't you think, like when you're on the mound, is that something you would notice?
Yes and no. It depends because I mean, you would like to say. Hearing somebody bang on a trash can before every pitch, you'll be able to hear and notice it. But a lot of these pitchers, I mentioned it earlier, are in such a zone and so hyper focused and have literally horse blinders on or tunnel vision on where they're focused on one thing. And quite honestly, you've got a million things going on in your head of bouncing what you're comfortable with throwing and what feels good to you that day, along with what you saw in the scouting report on what this hitter struggles with. So you may or may not have noticed it. But whether they did or didn't, adjustments weren't made. And my big thing, and I thought about this for a long time because I had two sides nagging at me. My diehard bleed black and gold, then black and crimson, and now blue and orange, and being a Houston Astros fan for 20 plus years and being a baseball fan on that same amount of time. My short answer, everybody does it. The Astros got caught.
Yeah.
Because I challenge any team, any player that has played the game of baseball at a high level to say, when you're on second base and you have the perfect angle to see what signs the catcher's throwing down, have you not relayed anything to a hitter or developed a system to relay to the dugout? More rudimentary than what the Astros are doing, but still the same premise nonetheless. So what do you do as the opposing team? You don't put down one sign as a catcher. You mix up your signs. You develop a system to where nobody can pick that up. It's been a game of stratego for as long as baseball has been around of when I'm a pitcher and I'm in the dugout and I'm not playing that day because I know I'm not pitching, what else am I going to do? I'm going to try to give my team a competitive advantage and try to pick signs. It's a part of the game. Mm-hmm. Now, as technology has increased or improved, and we have Apple Watches. As we have like the camera in center field broadcasting games, as we have like electric sensor buzzer systems, whatever. I'm glad the MLB, on one token, I'm glad the MLB cracked down and just kind of put a stop to it for the sake of the game because it was only going to continue to get worse. But I firmly believe the Astros were the scapegoat for the MLB because the MLB knew that they were making them a scapegoat. Otherwise, Altuve, Bregman, Carlos Beltran, all the players that aren't even with the Astros anymore that were a part of it would have gotten the Pete Rose lifetime ban if it was they believed it was that serious. But they didn't take away the championship. They didn't take away any accomplishments or any MVPs or anything won during that time frame. Because they knew that they were scapegoating the Astros. And then they let well enough alone where when they finally did open the letter to Manfred 2 years later, nothing ever came from it. So if it was truly that big of a deal, okay, let's enforce it to all teams. Where's the Yankees penalty? Where's the Dodgers penalty? Where's the
Red
Red
Sox.
Sox penalty?
Yeah.
But evidently the MLB didn't see fit to go after them like that. So let well enough alone. Now, to every fan that wants to, baseball fan that for any team that wants to comment on any Astros with the trash can emoji, if I gave you 100 chances and you knew it was coming 100 times, you wouldn't be able to touch it anytime. So shut your mouth. One.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the Astros fan in me talking.
Yes, sir.
And then
go off.
Then the baseball fan in me talking. Okay, so you want to throw a hypothetical asterisk on the 2017 World Series? Okay, Astros have been there and been in the running for a World Series every year plus, and you don't think that they've had an absolute microscope on them from every opposing team, every opposing front office, and the MLB as a whole? You're lying. And there has not been one infraction up to this point, and we're still one of the best teams in baseball. So I think that they have done more than enough to discredit the reason, we haven't. The only reason they won a World Series is because they cheated. Well, the only reason the Dodgers won a World Series is because it was in a neutral site and it was a COVID year. So I mean, we could go on and on. We could go on and on.
How about the fact that the Yankees all won on half of their championships before black people were even allowed to play baseball?
How about the Yankee fans' biggest argument that the Astros were cheating were the differences in statistics in home games versus road games? And then fast forward to this year in 22, the Astros' road stats were much better than their home stats, but it didn't matter. No matter how bad the Astros could have hit, they weren't near as bad as the Yankees. And Judge hit 62 home runs in a year and 0 in the postseason. So, I mean,
yep. One hit in the ALCS, one, and it was a measly little single. Wasn't even an extra base hit, just a single.
No,
good job, MVP.
So, like, it's always been tough for me because I'm a diehard baseball fan, and I'm a fan of the sport and the true nuances of the sport. And it's because of that I can say, yes, the Astros cheated. Yes, everybody does or attempts to. The Astros just got caught because I think they were a little bit reckless. I think banging a trash can would have gotten noticed at some point.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they could have come up with a better system. I think the only thing that the Yankees and Red Sox are better than the Astros at is cheating and not getting caught.
Cheating and not winning.
And that's yeah. So there's always going to be things about the game that can be improved, and I think that spans across all sports. And I think that's why there's being subtle changes made to all sports. But cheating has been cheating in that sense. Really, I'll go so far as to say cheating has been a part of baseball for a long time, with people, Sammy Sosa corking bats, George Brett pine tarring his bat up to the barrel, Max Scherzer throwing sunscreen and rosin on and then getting caught. And then since he's been caught and not been able to use it, he's 0-3 in his last 3 starts and giving up 8+ runs in each one.
Interesting.
What does that say about your long-term legacy?
That's a good point. Our buddies over at the Mound Visit actually had a rant in favor of Max Scherzer, so they're probably cringing right now hearing that.
Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers in baseball, one of the best to ever do it. Yeah. But in the same token that you keep somebody like Roger Clemens out of the Hall of Fame because of the steroid allegations, Max Scherzer has been popped for this very thing 3 or 4 times. At one point, do you put them on an even playing field and say Cooperstown's watching?
Yeah.
And you continue to get caught for things like this, and immediately following, where they're watching you like a hawk to make sure you're not doing it, your success levels plummet. Writing's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no ill will towards Max Scherzer because he's never played against a team that's hurt the Astros in a long time. I'm just a fan of level playing fields.
Yeah, that's fair. So Barry Bonds a Hall of Famer?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, man.
I don't care how many needles you put in your elbow, butt, rib cage. I don't care. I challenge anybody to hit a round ball with a round bat that's coming in at 80+ miles an hour with spin, beat 8 people in front of you, 1 behind, varying weather conditions, varying umpiring conditions, various field conditions, and do it better than the greatest player in the history of baseball, and Hank Aaron.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on the Barry Bonds. Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, I guess I kind of know the answer because I was going to ask you what is harder to hit a fastball or like hit a specific pitch, or to like, for example, you being the pitcher, throwing it with control in your spot.
Hit, hands down.
Interesting.
Hands down. There's a reason. There's a reason I became a pitcher. I'm not saying pitching is easy by any means, but pitching is baseball is odd in a sense that you can fail, you do everything right and fail. And that stands for both the hitter and the pitcher. I can get a fastball low and away pitch call. I can execute it knee high on the black of the plate with tail away, perfect spot, exactly. Battle. The hitter who did everything right, I did. The hitter just gets rewarded for it. But more often than not, those instances happen in favor of the pitcher because it's statistically harder to hit a baseball, especially at the major league level where your reaction time is the mathematical equivalent of the time it takes you to blink your eyes. That's how much time hitters have to react to these pitches. Much, much harder to do it. And I go back to an interview from Mr. Primetime himself, where dual sport, like really 3 or 4 sport athlete, but played in both the NFL and the MLB, Deion Sanders.
Right.
Asked him what the hardest thing that he ever had to do in sports was. He said hitting a baseball.
Yeah.
Harder than anything in football, he said. But he also phrased it with different kind of hard. Mentally taxing and toughest to execute, not physically the hardest.
Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, I would not want to be a hitter in today's day and age where everybody you fart out from the bullpen is throwing 95 plus. No, thank you. No, thank you.
That's an interesting answer. I did not think you were going to go in that direction. I like it.
That was quick too. But hey, Travis, man, hey, we're entering, I guess, this segment, things that you're passionate about. Is there things like you love about the game of baseball, things you wish they could change right now? How are you liking the season so far with either, your Astros, who, I forgot to mention for all you Astro fans out there, this guy right here, hey, he struck out Alex Bregman, man. That's all I know. I've seen it, man. He struck him out. But Travis, no, like, is there things like you love about baseball that you hope never change, things that you don't like right now? And like I said, things that you see about the season.
I love the little nuances. Like one of my only I guess reservations and going to Texas whenever I went was the field was all turf except for the mound. I miss the dirt and grass, but like the smell of fresh cut grass, the crunch of your dirt under the metal spikes, like the little nuances that just make baseball what it is. The crack of a wood bat in the stadium, the lightning crack of the mitt whenever a fastball pops in just the right way. And personally, being a baseball player, I know that it's not everybody's forte, but I love, especially live. You can see it on TV, but I love watching it live, seeing the nuances and player movements in between pitches, because baseball is very much an art. It can be very slow moving to people that don't know or not invested heavily in baseball or watching baseball. But if you watch how the players move in between pitches, where like checking scouting reports on their wristbands or on bands they have or papers they have in their back pocket, what have you, there's an art to it. There really is. I enjoy really watching that. And this is kind of, I enjoy the difficulty that the game requires and how it's humbling it is. Even the best player in the world can get humbled very, very quickly.
Gotcha.
With failure and lack of success. And it has nothing to do with anything wrong that they're doing. It's just sometimes you can't buy a hit. You can't buy an out. It has nothing to do with you. It's just weird that baseball has kind of developed its own entity of becoming like this entity of its own or game of its own. Like we always had a saying, like the game knows. That was what we always said in college. Like, however you're living your life, however you're behaving, or how hard or not hard you're working off the field, the game knows, and it rewards the players that that put in the time and put in the work and care. So yeah, I know I kind of went on a little.
Hey, man!
Love the game, man. Love the game.
Yeah, no, hey, I totally agree. If I had a pedigree like you in a certain sport, I played multiple sports in high school with basketball, football, and a little track and field, but now that I'm out of high school and playing golf now, I wish I played golf in high school.
Me too.
It's those things, it's definitely those things. Now, Travis, any surprises with the MLB season to you so far, like the Rays, the Pirates? Right now, I love seeing, like, if the playoffs started today, I don't see any teams, I would see, there's so many, teams that are just blossoming, and, no one's really giving, an eyeball to, because, we're all worried about the Yankees, Red Sox, the Astros, the Dodgers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, how do you feel about those lower market teams, like, like Pittsburgh and Tampa? They're doing their thing.
Well, I've always had a lot of respect for Pittsburgh and the Tampa Bay Rays organizations, because what I see, what Pittsburgh is going through now, what Tampa is was going through 4 or 5 years ago and have since come out of, essentially the Astros went through the same thing. It was the true rebuild, the last where, we had, at one point we had Hunter Pence coming off of his rookie year, one of the best players in the league. Carlos Lee, a little over his prime, but still an asset to a team. Traded him, shop him, clear the slate for a true rebuild. And that's essentially what Pittsburgh did in shopping McCutchen in his prime, shopping Garrett Cole in his prime. I mean, letting guys like that go, you go into true rebuild mode. I think it's why you're starting to see those teams come in and have success, because not only are they doing it the right way, you're building up and truly developing your farm system and bringing up players that are young, that are hungry, and have all gone through the grind together. So by the time they get to the bigs, the chemistry is already there. You don't have to try to foster that. It's why the Yankees, Dodgers, now Padres premise of buy the free agent world is not always, it's not the best way to move, in my opinion, as an organization, because you're having to try to force chemistry and force puzzle pieces into place versus letting them happen naturally and organically. And there's patience that comes with that. But watching teams like the Pirates and the Rays play, they're playing every game like it's game 7 of the World Series right now. I mean, watching the way that the Rays even run the bases. I mean, there was a play I just saw on a game here a week or so ago where it was a pop up to second base, and Randy Arozarena on first, and then I think Aguilar on third. But Randy Arozarena, they shortstop and second baseman both converged on the pop up. Randy Arozarena tagged from first base to second base, not to take second base, but to deke their attention so Aguilar could score from third. This was one run, and this was in the first inning of a Tuesday game or something like that. To where most guys, like, you just stay on base. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but they're playing like every game is their last. And that's what you get from a young, hungry, like a high chemistry team like that. And I've always been a big fan of the true rebuild because of what it could mean. Now, there's wrong ways to do a true rebuild, like the Oakland A's. I think they need to get the hell out of Oakland. I think that owner.
They are getting the hell out of Oakland. That's booked, man. Vegas, here we come.
I think that owner needs to sell. What he's done to that organization, I couldn't be more against. But teams like the Rays and the Pirates that are doing it right, and I'll throw in one more team that's surprising a lot of people this year: the Baltimore Orioles. When have we talked about Baltimore? Baltimore's got one of the best, if not the best, catcher in baseball, in Adley Rutschman, who's 2 years into his time. I mean, first game out of the gate this year, kid goes 5 for 5 and has 3 hits from the left side and 2 hits from the right. Not sexy 450-foot home runs, but gets it done. Just a gamer.
And Gunnar Henderson as well. Yes. He's had a slow start to his season, but he should pick up for them as well. Yeah, they're building something good. I like the way the Orioles are setting it up. But Travis, speaking about like what's going on this year in baseball, I want to hear your opinion. Again, we've established your pedigree as a former pitcher. How are you? What are your thoughts on the pitch clock? Some of the new rules, like the ghost runner for extra innings is the one I've hated it for years. I cannot stand that rule. I think it doesn't really serve the purpose that they think it does. I think it's just a waste of I know it's unearned runs, but like it's just you're gonna make bullpen guys look bad. But what are some of your thoughts on maybe I want to speak on the pitch clock or what are your thoughts of the new rules overall?
Sure. So I'll start with the pitch clock. I'm one of the rare former baseball guys, true baseball fans that'll tell you I am a fan of speeding up the pace of play of baseball to keep
Mhm.
to appeal to different demographics and to keep baseball on the rise. I think what they're doing for changes like the City Connects, just to City Connect uniforms to engage a youthful demographic that otherwise may not have been into baseball, but we'll see those and want to cop an Astros Space City jersey or a Miami Sugar Kings jersey or whatever they are. Like want to get one of those. But for the pitch clock, I'm a fan of the speeding up of the pace of play. I'm hoping that it stops here. If it stops here, I'm fine. But I hope they do what the pitch clock, what they did with the Ghost Runner on second to start extra innings, and they make it non-applicable in the postseason. If
Right.
you enforce a pitch clock and a Ghost Runner rule in the postseason, you're going to get a lot of angry baseball fans because if you wanted to influence the game during the regular season, fine. It better not influence the postseason. That's all
Mhm.
I can say on it.
I agree.
As a pitcher, I would have been fine with this pitch clock because I worked notoriously fast. I was throw my pitch, get the ball back on the rubber in a couple seconds. Like I never liked to waste time. I was a go 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 mentality. Worked
Mhm.
very quickly. Guys that didn't, like I use a his last name is blanking me. Spencer, you'll be able to know. Starter for the Astros had the really long, extensive windup. Luis something.
Garcia, he actually
Luis
just
Garcia.
just had Tommy John surgery yesterday. He's out for a year and a half.
Damn.
But think about his windup last year for
Right.
the pitch clock versus now. It's how he was comfortable. He had to change that because he didn't have time to go through that full routine unless he started his windup whenever the pitch clock first set off. I like that they're trying to appeal to a youthful demographic, but let's not go changing the fundamentals of the game. If you want to speed up, the pace of play of something or speed up anything, let's not have 5 minutes of commercial break that holds up a game between innings or between pitching changes or between timeouts. Let's tone down on the advertising. You're raking in advertising dollars, but you're changing the game. That's where I will start to get frustrated. If changes are made on both sides and we go to a true like streaming platform where the game is just running and the cameras are just on and there's advertisements in the background, but it's not infracting on the game itself, awesome. Great. Change whatever you want. But no, I like the pitch clock. I think it's going to be cause for some heartburn as we continue to move on in the season, as games start to get decided by pitch clock violations or anything like I don't know.
I couldn't imagine like ESPN or FS1. They never talk about baseball. But like, let's say the Dodgers won the World Series off of a pitch clock violation. Bases loaded, full count. Oh, you took too long, man. You out. Get out of the game.
Put an asterisk on that one.
Right.
That'll be 2 World Series with asterisks for them.
But,
I will say one more thing in regards to rule changes. Call a spade a spade. Call them what they are. You didn't increase the base size for player safety. You increase the base size to encourage more stolen bases.
Hell yeah.
And we've seen that.
You change the baseballs to induce more home runs.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
How is that any different in the cheating realm?
You're right. That's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. That's so true.
How is that any different, in my opinion? You're going to change the game to forcefully induce actions that may or may not have otherwise occurred.
So true. So true.
Definitely.
I had not even thought about that.
Travis, that was a hell of a point. Yeah, that was a hell of a point. Hey, now, Travis, of course, we've been asking you all the questions. We're already almost at an hour and a half. We appreciate you being here. But, Travis, hey, you have any questions that you would like us to answer? Maybe not in the baseball realm or maybe the baseball realm, but maybe football, basketball, other sports. I know you like other sports. You're a jack of all trades, like most of us are these days. So,
yeah. I would say one of my questions is for both of you. What is your least favorite part about the game of baseball? Or like, what about baseball do you not like and wish you could change?
So I'll start first, Spencer. I'll let you think on this.
Yeah, let me think because I do love this baseball.
So, of course, before this season, I hated watching baseball games on TV because I thought they were extremely too long. So now I am in favor of the the pitch clock and all that. And so I love watching games on TV now, because I also go to every baseball game and enjoy it every time. But yeah, so for me, if for a while it was the length of the games on TV. Now, of course, playoff baseball I'll watch all day in the slow format. But so that was me. That would be number one for me. Number two, I'm not gonna lie. Now, look, I know everyone's gonna hate me for saying this. Yo, they need to put them nets down. Yo, get off your damn phones and watch the damn game. I don't give a crap, man. Put them nets down. Yo, dude, I don't want to hear about these people getting hit. Yo, you know what you're signing up for when you sit along third base and first base. You know, I don't give a crap. Put those nets down. Get off your phone. This is not, hey, I'm not here to do this on TikTok or Twitter. No, I'm ready. I'm ready for a foul ball my way. So if that was me, I hate the Nets, man.
Wow. James just went full on Michael Jordan F them kids meme on us.
And they put up the Nets, and I took that personally.
So that's me. That's me right there. Personally, that's me, because I enjoy. Hey, if you're there to the game, I enjoy watching. Now, of course, there'll be a moment. Yeah, you're probably eating that big old hot dog. You close your eyes, a foul ball hits you. I'd hate for that to happen, but then again, hey man, do it during the timeouts, man. Do it during the commercial.
Head on a swivel, heads up, pay attention.
Like it's like the camera guy at the basketball game. Like, you know what's gonna happen. You with the damn camera right under the goal. You're gonna get LeBron. You're going to get LeBron booty to the camera lens. You're going to get AD, to your head. So it's one of those things, but that's me. So for me, it's the Nets. Other than that, I've liked everything in baseball. I think I've seen some. I do enjoy the interleague play. But other than that, yeah, it's the Nets for me, man. Fans, you got to pay attention.
Yeah. So for me, I'll say there's two things that it's like the fundamental part of baseball that I would critique. I love baseball. It's always been one of my favorites. It's always been football, basketball, baseball for me. We've talked about that on the show, Travis. You know that already. There's two things, though, I think I would like to change, though. The first one, and again, it's like a fundamental part of baseball. I don't like that whenever you are subbed out, you cannot be subbed back in. I've never really liked that.
Right.
Like in football and basketball, you got guys you can go
out a lot.
Yeah, I did. But in football and basketball, you can go take a breather, go sit on the bench, and then come back out when you're needed again, right? Hockey, same thing. Hockey, they'll change the entire lineup straight up. But for me, baseball and soccer, I hate that once you're done, you're done. You cannot enter the game again. So that's a small one. That's a little one. I understand why as well, but that would be one thing I changed. But the other thing too, as a fan, like we're living in a day of advanced analytics and sabermetrics, all that stuff. So now we have websites that will tell us, hey, your favorite player just hit this fly out. That would have been a home run in 27 stadiums, but in this stadium, it's an out. So maybe making the dimensions, maybe not all exactly the same, because I like the uniqueness of a lot of the MLB stadiums, but maybe make them a little bit closer so that doesn't piss me off every time I watch Bregman hit a piss missile that goes straight into someone's glove, and then I get on Twitter and find out that would have been a home run in literally every other stadium besides the one he's playing in tonight.
Yeah. Dimensions in baseball, I think that is going to be the next thing that the MLB cracks down on and changes, as we're getting into an era of increasing the juice of the baseball to induce more home runs. Players are getting bigger and stronger and hitting for more power consistently. Yeah. I think that they're going to start that, because truly when you see a place like Comerica Park in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But also I do love that difference in a stadium, because it's, again, goes back to the mental struggles of the game of baseball. Like when Bregman or Altuve, or heck, even Jordan, when he goes oppo, hits one to left field 360, but they're playing playing at the graveyard that is ODOT's Coliseum. I mean, it doesn't go ball doesn't fly anywhere. It's dead. And the fields are massive. Yeah, they're jogging to the dugout thinking, like, if this was If this was at the juice box, I'd be rounding the bases right now. I think I like the diversity in the stadiums because it creates character on each one. But to your point, I could definitely see the MLB cracking down on that because it's truly, unless you're talking about the Green Monster or McCovey Cove in right field at I forget what they call it now, T-Mobile Park in San Francisco.
It's actually AT&T. It's AT&T Park.
AT&T Park. T-Mobile is Seattle.
That's right.
That's right. I think it's Oracle Park actually now.
Might be because
it's actually Oracle.
San Fran. But moving fences in is logistically very easy, except if they're the monsters like that. You can't move the Crawford box in 10 feet, nor why would you? But how many times have we gotten bitten with the Minute Maid dimensions of it would have been a Crawford box home run if it didn't fit into that little cove right where the box is cut off and goes to the visitor's bullpen. I mean, it's agonizing, but at the same time, it's a level playing field for everybody else. And it creates a true home field advantage to where you get a team like one of the reasons why the Astros do so good against New York is because we have the Crawford boxes in left and Yankee Stadium is a Cracker Jack park.
Yeah.
It's like another home game.
Yeah.
Right. We don't pay rent because we own it. I guess.
Yeah. And again, to clarify, I only dislike those dimensions because I get on Twitter and find out about it. This didn't bother me 10 years ago before I was on Twitter finding out all those measurements. Like now it pisses me off.
Yeah, definitely. No, hey Travis, I guess when it comes to MLB stadiums, what is your favorite stadium in the MLB, and which one would you like to go to soon?
This is tough. This is really tough. My favorite for nostalgia, like just for baseball in general, I will be the biased guy and pick the juice box, pick Minute Maid.
Just I like what Minute Maid does, man. I like
the modern amenities combined with how they still stay true. Like, what other former World Series team is still going to have $1 hot dog night for their fans?
Thank you.
I mean, Minute Maid, I used to go to games when Minute Maid we were the black and crimson Astros. We were the Lastros. You could bring a gallon size Ziploc bag full of whatever you want.
Powerade tops, yes.
Because they just wanted fans to come. And they've made renovations to that stadium to keep it looking state of the art and keep it with a modern feel. But as far as like the true nostalgic baseball player in me, I've been to both Wrigley and Fenway. Both. And my experience at Wrigley was, I guess, better from a sense that I got tickets from a buddy of mine that happened to work in the Cubs front office. So we sat like 10th row behind home plate, Cubs Cardinals Saturday night game, the works. But being a true baseball fan, going to Fenway and being at that ballpark, I don't like the Red Sox or what they stand for, but it's just nostalgic to go to a stadium with that much character, that much history. And it's almost one of the only stadiums in the country that has the excuse of we're old and we're run down and there's no modernizations of the stadium at all.
There isn't.
But we don't care because you'll still appreciate it anyway. I'm sitting on a wooden bleacher watching this baseball game that my host family at the time paid $100 for me to go sit on a wood bleacher. So I would say nostalgic, Stros, but just for overall baseball, Fenway, just for the history.
Fenway. Yeah, no, you're right. I've been to Fenway, and of course, I was pissed off. I went to Fenway, and I swear it sprinkled all game. And then they said, sorry, the game's canceled. And I was like, what? Barely sprinkling out here. What the So I was upset about that, but I do agree, like, it's so old school. But luckily, I think I don't know when. It might be this year or next year. They should be finishing up. They're going to be having a sports book, like, in the center field, like, on the outside of the stadium. So they're trying to modernize it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Travis, man. Before we wrap up, because, I know for me, I'm a married man. My wife says, I got to get back. I got to start taking care of this baby. I know you a married man. You may got some plans. Travis, man, anything you'd like to say? Because we're going to wrap up this episode, Travis. I will say it's been great having you on here. I'm glad you were the first one on here. We got a high pedigree standard, it looks like, and we're trying to come back with more special guest heat for y'all. Travis, is there anything you'd like to say to us or anyone watching? Just anything in general.
I'm excited that selfishly I got to be the first special guest because there's obviously many more to come. And I'm excited to get a couple years down the road when the podcast has inadvertently blown up and get to come back on a reunion tour and say I was the first.
Yeah.
I love that.
Give you a
I'm
flag.
just leading up to next episodes. Anytime y'all want to have me back, I would absolutely love to come back.
Yeah.
Athletically Declined, the invitation's open as well. Feel
Ooh,
free
you
to
hear
shoot
it,
in.
Tyler.
I could get on and talk sports for hours and hours and hours. So this was a perfect fit. I do want to get on more on a non-baseball episode because I want to pick you and Spencer's brain with all things fantasy because I got to step my fantasy game up, man. I'm on my second year of ever playing fantasy. My first year, I drafted a quarterback with pick 1-1, and yeah, I need a lot of help.
Hey,
I need a lot of help.
Travis, you say that right now. I'll just throw it out there. Everyone watching this episode on Athletically Declined, Mr. Fantasy Football, winners and losers of the NFL Draft is out now on YouTube. Give it a watch. Hey, it's quick and right to the point. Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for drafting players as well because trust me, Travis, my teams always suck. I'm worried now because we're gonna have like a group. And supposedly they're waiting to see what the consequences are for last place. And I don't want to be in last place, man.
Yep.
Yeah, don't worry. If you follow at Mr. Fantasy F-Ball, I got you. You will not be last place in your fantasy league.
And
maybe you will, James, but that's just because everyone in that group's going to be watching Mr. Fantasy. So you're all going to be on a level playing field. But Travis, I got you, man. I got you.
I'll come to you to the side for some insider secrets that are on Mr. Fantasy.
Got you, bro. I got you, man.
No, Travis. Yeah, Travis. No, it's been great having you for sure, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for all the information you've given us from your little league days to the select ball, high school, college, and it's been great looking at your profile, man. I will say, hey, man, hope everything outside, personal with marriage and house-wise, goes well in your future, man. And hey, I've seen text messages that we may need to get a boys golf trip going around. Now, Spencer, you may need to step up your game because
I'm happy to go lose a bunch of golf balls with the boys. That's fine. That's fine. I'll shank them into the forest and I'll just play y'all's balls. I have no problem with that. As long as I'm with the boys out on the course, I'm there, man. I don't really care.
I'm down. I'm ready. Tell me when and where, and I'm at that golf trip.
When and where, yeah. Hey, I will. I might have to get with you, man. Maybe pick your brain on some connections. I'm still looking for a job in the sports industry in Atlanta, so you might be my guy. So hey, as always, everyone follow us on WildWildWestSports, social media, YouTube, Athletically Declined. Y'all follow Travis Duke, man, on social medias, man. Former left-handed pitcher, relief pitcher for the Texas Longhorns. Hey, Travis, man, thank you so much, man. We're wrapping up. Hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, man. As always, next time.